Full slate of insiders today: Chris Johnston, Pierre LeBrun, and Darren Dreger. So the Blackhawks, as you heard, clear up some things about the dismissal of Corey Perry from the team, but still a lot of questions unanswered. Where does it go from here, CJ?
Well, the first order of business is really Corey Perry's contract. The Blackhawks on Tuesday initiated a termination of that contract by placing him on unconditional waivers. That can happen as soon as Wednesday. And then at that point, obviously there's a chance potentially that Corey Perry could have a grievance over this decision. That's something he has 60 days to decide upon, and at this point in time, it's too soon to say which way he'll go. But it's very clear this is a serious situation. We saw the way in which Kyle Davidson addressed reporters in Chicago, that the strain that this has placed on him. You know, he couldn't reveal much, but he did make it clear this didn't involve a player or his family, that it's a workplace matter and not something that violated the law. But clearly, this is something the Blackhawks feel violated the terms of Perry's standard player contract and the team's internal policies.
And important, he said that one part, because the rumors on social media are really unprecedented over the last couple of days. The former Blackhawk, Patrick Kane. There are a lot of contending teams who were interested. Why did Detroit win, Chris?
Well, this was a result of a lot of hours on Zoom for Patrick Kane and his agent Pat Brisson at CAA. They talked to a number of teams here in the last few weeks. It probably extended on a week longer than they initially thought it would before Patrick Kane made a decision. When it comes to Detroit, what stood out? Derek Lalonde had a very strong impact on Kane in the discussions that they had. Obviously, that we've talked about the connection to Alex DeBrincat at the start to the season Detroit's had. The Red Wings also had the most cap space of any of the teams that were involved right until the end. And I'll say this as we go here. It's no timeline yet on when Kane will play, but it sounds like sometime next week we expect him to make his debut in Detroit.
Yeah, and certainly what made a lot of headlines throughout this process is when the Toronto Maple Leafs poked their nose in this thing. And it's sort of Brad Treliving's, he's notorious for investigating all the potential scenarios that can help his team. He's been like that throughout his career. The reality is, yes, the Leafs spoke to Kane, spoke to the camp, but we're not part of the final 3-4 teams on that short list that the front runners at the very end of this process. Not surprising. The Leafs, obviously, as Brad Treliving said himself to the media this week, they're trying to upgrade their blue line. That's their priority. The Florida Panthers were a team that certainly tried hard. They met with them in Chicago. But I don't know that they feel they were runners-up either at the end of the day. They made their pitch. Their pitch was to come and play with Sasha Barkov in sunny Florida, and it wasn't good enough. Buffalo Sabres also meeting with Kane and felt they had a pretty good effort in trying to land their hometown player, but they did not.
Boys, those Panthers involved in a wild game last night with the Senators where everybody got a misconduct, 13 players kicked out. It almost overshadowed the fact that it was another demoralizing 5-0 loss for Ottawa. Is there any impatience from the new ownership management with the Senators, Drakes?
No, not at this point. And I know that's not what Ottawa Senators fans want to hear, but I would say that the patience imminently is going to wear thin if things don't turn around. Now, DJ Smith dove on the sword after the loss to Florida. Whether you enjoyed old school shenanigans or not, it's at least evidence that the players still care. They played hard and were literally in the fight versus the Florida Panthers. But management vows that they are patient for the time being.
Also, early disappointment in New Jersey, where they were considered a legitimate cup contender this year, Pierre, and off to a 9-9-1 start heading into games Tuesday. Any imminent moves there?
No, I think for now the Devils want to find their A game before they decide whether they want to go the trade route. That's sort of the discussions internally, and you get why, because they want to make sure that they know that they are still that team from last year that is transcending into an elite cup contender. So that comes first. But they have talked, for example, my understanding is to the Calgary Flames about Nikita Zadorov. They'd like to add some physicality on their back end at some point. But the priority for now for New Jersey is to get the ship going straight here.
We almost got another EBUG moment last night in Calgary. Dan Vladar gets run over with Dustin Nickel standing by ready to go in. He doesn't go in, but are there people in hockey that want these kind of situations, as fun as they are sometimes, to end, Dregs?
Yes, there are, and that's many NHL general managers. Now, they've had multiple conversations over the years, and the issue has been tweaked a little bit, I would say, but it's a bad look for the National Hockey League, even if it's once a year, to face the potential of a non-pro goalie playing in an NHL game. Now, Markstrom was sick late in the day, so the Calgary Flames didn't have enough time to get their change in before the 5 p.m. deadline, but it it could be an easy fix, according to several NHL general managers, just a roster exemption for goalies.
Yeah, the likes of Scott Foster, David Ayres, they're wonderful stories, but it
Yeah.
is the only major league on the planet where some guy off the street could actually get into a game.